litigation game, doesn't want to be there. So the courts have to really take a hard look at, do we have a right to make that defendant come into this courthouse and defend this lawsuit? So here's how it really arises. I'm from Louisiana, you're from Georgia. We're both vacationing in the panhandle of Florida, and we get into an accident in Pensacola, Florida, or at Pensacola Beach. You're at fault in the accident. You got the ticket. You have some insurance, but you don't have enough insurance to take care of the repairs on my splendid Bentley.
Florida's a no-fault state.
What?
Florida's a no-fault state.
All right, Andrew, just forget Andrew said that, all right? Let me leave it at Florida, because you can tell me Alabama, and I'm going to say Florida 100 times. It's a no-fault state, so this isn't legal. But I'm just trying to illustrate, one person involved in the accident was in one state, the other person in another state, and the accident happened in a third state. So, you don't have enough insurance. So I got to sue you for the difference in what your insurance can pay me to repair my car and pay my medical bills, if any, and what my medical bills and my car repairs are really going to cost. So I'm suing you personally. Your insurance company is going to give me all the money under the policy, but it's not going to be enough. So I'm suing you. So the question becomes, where do I sue? Now, if I have my choice, think about it. I'm in Louisiana, you live in Georgia, accident in Florida. If I have my preference, where would I want to file a lawsuit? Yeah, why?
That's the wrong state.
That's it. I want to be a home girl. I want that. You heard of home court advantage in b-ball, right? There's home court advantage in the law too. I want that advantage. I want to be the one who talks with the Yad accent that all the people on a jury are going to go, oh, she's a home girl. She could be my neighbor. Oh, I know that. They're just automatically identify with me, right? So of course I want to file the suit here. I'm going to have that little bit of bias on the jury's part in my favor, and who knows, that may be what pushes me over the top and I'll win the suit. However, the courts will say, if I file a lawsuit against you, the Georgia defendant, in Louisiana court, you're going to come in and go, whoa, wait a minute, you can't do that. Because Louisiana, I don't have anything to do with Louisiana. The accident didn't happen in Louisiana. I, the defendant, I don't live in Louisiana. You can't make me come from Georgia to Louisiana and spend a bunch of money on hotels and stuff to defend this lawsuit here. That is fundamentally unfair. So, in that case, where do you think the most appropriate place to file the suit would be? Florida. However, I have the right to file the suit in Florida, where the accident happened, again, because the Florida courts have jurisdiction to hear suits involving accidents that take place within Florida. But I can also file suit against you in the county of Georgia where you live, because that's where you live, right? So the courts of the state where the defendant lives always have jurisdiction over that defendant. But why do I not want to do that?
Because that's their home state.
Hell yeah, then I'm giving you home field advantage, or home court advantage. Now I'm at a disadvantage, so I ain't doing that, right? So my only real choice, if I want as level a playing field as I could get, is to go to Florida. And the Florida courts, because at least then you're the outsider and so am I, right? So maybe we're a little bit even. Neither one of us is going to have a jury that's going to be totally in our favor because we're both out-of-state people. So, in every case, the court must have jurisdiction over the person of the defendant. And this becomes a big issue when the defendant is an out-of-state resident. The defendant doesn't live in the state where the lawsuit has been filed. Again, the defendant you don't always have to file in the state where the defendant lives. You may always file there, but you don't have to if you have another option. Now, obviously, if I change the facts and I said, I'm from Louisiana, I'm visiting friends in Atlanta, you live in Atlanta, and we get into an accident in Atlanta, I'm screwed, right? The accident took place in Georgia, you live in Georgia. Those are my two choices. It's Georgia. I can file it in Louisiana, but you're gonna get a lawyer that's gonna come say, that case is gonna be dismissed. Because in yet another Supreme Court case, and this will be probably the last one that I've argued with for a while, a 1945 Supreme Court case, and again, you don't ever have to remember the dates. I'll tell you that just for context. A case called International Shoe Company versus the state of Washington. This case went all the way up to Supreme Court, and the issue was, when can the courts of one state exercise jurisdiction over a defendant who is an out-of-state resident, over a defendant from another state? So when can the courts of Louisiana require a California defendant to come to Louisiana to defend a lawsuit? And the Supreme Court answered the question very simply. Only when the defendant has what the Supreme Court called minimum contacts with the state in which he has been sued. So, the Florida accident with the Louisiana and the Georgia resident, that Georgia resident, the defendant that I'm suing, has absolutely no contact or connection with the state of Louisiana, right? You don't live there, that's not where the accident happened, you got no connection. That is why I cannot sue that defendant, that Georgia defendant in Louisiana, because I can't show to the Louisiana court that that Georgia defendant had minimum contacts with the state of Louisiana. Minimum is an odd phrase. It was the Supreme Court's way of saying the contact between the out-of-state defendant and the state in which he's being sued doesn't have to be a lot. It's not like he has to vacation here for 3 months out of every year. The contact that he has to have to be sued in the courts of another state can be minimal. It doesn't have to be a lot, but there does have to be some kind of connection between that out-of-state defendant and the state in which he has been sued. So, here are the basic rules. We've already been over a couple of them. The courts of a state where an accident takes place will always have jurisdiction to hear the suit just because the accident took place within that court's, that state's boundaries, regardless of where the defendant resides, okay? If it's a breach of contract action, you and I enter into a contract, we're gonna do a little business deal, things don't go well, I have to sue you. If I can show that we'll stick with, you live in Georgia, I'm in Louisiana, if I can show that in the course of putting this contract together, signing it, negotiating it, something, you traveled to Louisiana, maybe you came in and met with me and we signed the contract in my office in Louisiana, in that case, I can sue you for breaching that contract in Louisiana. Because I can show that there's some connection between you, the contract, and the state of Louisiana. It's not a lot. You came here one time, you were in my office for a half hour. But you did travel to Louisiana to sign the contract. Therefore, I can sue you in Louisiana. My only other choice, if I can't, if we negotiated it through the internet and neither one of us physically got together with the other to sign it, we did, multiple duplicates and we signed them independently, then I'm going to have to sue you in your home state. Because if I can't show that there's a connection between you and the state of Louisiana with respect to this contract, then I can't sue you in Louisiana. I have one alternative, and that's to go where you live. In cases involving defective products, so let's say you are a California company, and I go online and I order a space heater from your company, and you ship it to me. I get it, I take it out of the box, I plug it in, it catches fire, I've got third-degree burns on my hands. Oh, I'm suing you, right? I bought your crummy product that burned me. So I gotta sue you, the California seller and or manufacturer of this defective product. Can I make you come to Louisiana to defend that lawsuit? Is the fact that you shipped that space heater to me in Louisiana, is that enough of a contact between you, the California company that sold me that bad product, and the state of Louisiana?
Probably not.
I think it's a positive.
Say again?
I think it is.
Why?
Because if you really think about it, they just ship you the product. So basically, y'all have like y'all just like, well, I'm not saying linked up together, but y'all have a relations. Y'all have like a relation like that's just like going on in between the customer and.
Love and Sears, right, and you hit on it when you said customer. The rule is a little bit different in cases of what we call products liability, where companies sell products that are defective and cause injury to somebody. The rule there has everything to do with public policy. This is what Congress says. If you're in business and you are busy selling to innocent consumers your products, you're taking their hard-earned cash and you're selling products or services to them, and your product is defective and injures that person, who's in the better situation financially to travel to the other one's state, first of all? The big fat rich company out there that's selling 1,000 of these a day, or little old me, who innocently ordered a product that I expected to be perfectly safe and it wasn't, and I'm hurt. So the courts go, the big fat rich company, they are in a much better position to finance having to come to Louisiana than to make this poor little individual consumer have to go out to California, a state she's not familiar with, she doesn't live in, and what? Rent a hotel and live out there and get your lawsuit going? I gotta pay a California lawyer? Oh my God, they're $9 million an hour, right? Louisiana, we're only $3 million an hour. So there you have, it's a bargain, right? So that is exactly the issue. The issue is, to state it the way the courts do, if you put a product, if you manufacture or sell a product and you put it into the stream of commerce, you're marketing your product, you got it out there. You don't have to advertise and stuff. It could be a passive website where I go online, I Google space heaters, your company comes up and I go to your website, see what you got, and I order it. But because you're the big fat cat putting your products out there, trying to get people to buy them, when people do buy them, the policy is you got to stand behind your product. And part of standing behind it is, if you get sued because your product causes injury to somebody, you got to go where that somebody is. So that's kind of the exception to the rule. Because I would agree with you guys who said probably not, because under the general rules, really all they did was ship it. But because it involves commerce and the payment of money by a customer for this product, and the product hurts the customer, on that basis alone, you can make that California company come to Louisiana. So after this decision was rendered by the Supreme Court, eventually every state in the Union, the legislature in every state passed what's called a long-arm statute. So this is a court decision, right, by the U.S. Supreme Court. Yes, it applies all over the country, but states took this decision that the courts of one state may exercise jurisdiction over an out-of-state defendant when that out-of-state defendant has minimum contacts with the state in which he is sued. They took that decision and put it into the form of a statute, a law passed by Congress called long-arm statute. So, you know, these days, you don't see too many Western movies being made, right? When I was a kid, every other show on TV was a Western. Bonanza, Fury, Have Gun, Will Travel, name it. And there were a lot of Westerns Western movies with big old John Wayne and stuff, right? You don't see a lot of those anymore. But the phrase long arm of the law was something that you would hear periodically in these Western movies and TV shows. Son, you can run, but the long arm of the law is going to reach out and find you wherever you are and drag you over here, and you are going to stand trial and justice will be done. That's where the name came from, literally. From that allusion to the long arm of the law stretching out from Louisiana all the way to California and dragging that California defendant here. So they call them long arm statutes. They say the same thing. They say that that out-of-state defendant has to have minimum contacts with the state in which they're sued. They have the exception on the products liability stuff, and they tell you how do you serve your lawsuit that you're filing in Louisiana on this California defendant. They tell you what to do. And those are the statutes.
Two questions with that. What about international companies? And the second, what about subsidiaries and parent companies?
It's a little more difficult internationally. I have never had to sue a company that was located in another country, so I can't tell you from first-hand experience exactly how you do it, but there are procedural statutes that do tell you how to do it. Sometimes you gotta get, what do they call those? Letters rogatory. Don't worry about that. I don't even know where that phrase came from 30 years ago in law school, but that's like some preliminary paperwork you have to do where you're asking the court in a foreign country to issue a citation telling the company that you're suing in that foreign country that they're being sued or something along those lines. So it gets, obviously the point is it gets a lot more difficult when it's international.
What about
But
subsidiaries and parent companies?
yeah, that's a good one. If I'm doing the suing, if I'm representing the plaintiff, I'm gonna probably name the parent company and the subsidiary, and then let the parent company try to get themselves out of the lawsuit.
Because how do you establish a minimum contact?
That's a good point. But if it's a subsidiary or an affiliate of the parent company, it may be that whatever contacts the subsidiary or the affiliate has with your state can be linked up to the parent company. It can be attributed to the parent company. You're quite right. You hit on some important ideas because these days there's so many complex intertwinings of companies and stuff that it gets to be more difficult. I always say sue them all and let them figure out how to get out of the lawsuit, right? What, Andrew?
So just find out which one's gonna pay, right?
That's it, and that's why you do it, that's why you sue them all, because the subsidiary might not have the deep pockets. That's a lawyer phrase, right? Deep pockets, I'm looking for the deep pockets, I'm looking for the dude with the money, right? Who can pay this judgment that I plan to get against you? So often you want the parent company in there. Like, you know, people that go to McDonald's and get food poisoning, which probably happens every day somewhere. Yeah, they sue the franchise owner, the person or the company that owns that franchise, but they're gonna wanna sue McDonald's Corporation too, because, oh my God, are we talking deep pockets? You know, those pockets are dragging the ground if they're 20 feet tall. I mean, come on. That's where you wanna go. But
They
you
also
could
might
do
have-
it, but they may not be stuck in the suit.
Yeah, they also might have enough money to drown out the case.
Yeah, that's also true.
Well, McDonald's, since they're franchise, they're passive liability too. Well,
They are for the most
independent
part.
operators passive liability.
But what if you die or you get terribly ill from food poisoning, and the food poisoning came from those things they call hamburgers, because McDonald's requires their franchise owners to buy their ground meat from one particular supplier. And that particular supplier, what if you find out once you file a lawsuit that supplier has sent out bad meat on a number of occasions? That supplier's been sued in 6 different states. Now I'm gonna say McDonald's Corporation they should know that. How do they not know that? And how do they continue to insist that their franchise owners buy meat from these bad people? See, so it depends on the facts, obviously. It's not gonna be an easy call most of the time. Most of the time, the parent company's not gonna have anything to do with it, but like I said, sue the bastards. Bye, y'all. See you next week.